Who told you that one?
ChatGPT.
Oh.
Yeah. Good one, though.
Yeah.
What's the difference between an oral and a rectal thermometer?
The order.
The taste.
Kept you waiting.
Welcome to episode 17 of Casual Mode, your weekly check-in with Carl.
Hello.
And Dan.
Hello.
Hello. Jessica Alba's getting divorced.
She was my my favourite growing up.
Favourite?
Female.
Okay, fair enough.
How about you?
Favourite? Emma Bunton. She was
Emma
like
Bunton.
up there. Yeah.
Baby Spice.
Baby Spice.
Yeah. How could it not have been Jessica Alba? Gemma Atkinson. She came up the other day.
I was going to say that. Yeah. That was the other one.
She came out with the accent.
Yeah, and Ronaldo as well. Sue.
I didn't realise Ronaldo was a girl, but I'm not going to
No,
judge
they
you
had a
for it.
relationship.
Did they?
Yeah.
Wow.
Where he coined the phrase Sue.
It's definitely not.
Apparently is. Genuinely is. Honestly, look it up. It was on Reddit. We've got a few talking points this week. That was a slide dig at Carl because he thought that everything on Reddit's accurate to
I got the source.
actual news.
I got the source.
You haven't got any source.
Is that a heroin joke? Does that class as shocking content?
Why would you make that joke?
On the
We
source?
haven't sworn, and you say heroin. We're going to get blocked again from.
Okay, what's a female hero?
Fair enough.
Yep.
You've done it there, but it doesn't
You're
quite
the one with the
apply the
degree.
same thing. You seem to argue this because I made a dig about Reddit, but the first thing we're going to talk about is Switch 2 is allegedly fully leaked in terms of everything that's involved with it. You've had like Genki. If you don't know who Genki are, I think they're a pretty prominent third-party provider of cases and accessories, and I think they've worked in partnership with Nintendo for several years, but it appears that they've I don't even know if they pissed Nintendo off, but they've shared a load of stuff about how the Switch 2 works.
Well, it's got us talking about it, so I'm sure they're not that pissed off.
I don't know, like people like Nate said that before, but I actually reckon it probably has annoyed them, or I guessed it would be. So we got pretty much a timeline here going back all the way into December.
I'll talk about that date, please. It's not a good day for
Triggering for you, is
of
it?
a left-leaning inclination.
Okay, yeah, that one day. So as recently posted on Reddit, it appears that the first images of the Nintendo Switch's 2 Joy-Cons have been revealed. So new images showing off the back and sides of a single controller. So it's got like a dark grey chassis and light blue sides, this one. The SL and SR buttons are still there. It's got a connector button and different ports on it, but notably on the light blue side of the controller sticks, it's going straight into the main body of Nintendo's console. So you get the... Is it Hall effect? Is that the thingy?
Yep.
Yeah. Also looks like it's got some sort of like a mouse sensor underneath it. So people are assuming that Nintendo are doing something wacky with it. And I think it led quite a few people to kind of guess that if there's a Mario Maker game coming up, that you can be a lot more precise using something like that, like a mouse kind of feature with a Joy-Con, then that could be a gimmick. Also looks like there's a magnetic locking system, which is one of my
That's nice.
criticisms of the Switch. Yeah. I don't know about yours, but
The only problem with moving to that magnetic approach is it might make it harder for the people who do pirate games to bridge the connector on the right hand side.
we're not talking about it. But part of the reason why I bought, who was it who makes these? I can't remember.
Is it Nitro Deck?
It is Nitro Deck. One of the reasons I bought, I saw my 5-year-old son was knackering like sets of Joy-Cons by moving them in and out, and I'm presuming if he was doing it, other kids would be doing the same thing. So if there is a mechanism to kind of keep them in place a lot better and remove the wear and tear element to it, then that's pretty good.
And drift as well.
And drift as well.
And they're more accurate.
That as well.
They've got a smaller dead spot, you see.
All those benefits. Mario Kart 9 looks like it's going to be a launch title. That's been rumoured for a while.
Nice.
It's officially called the Nintendo Switch 2. It looks like it's coming in dark grey and white. And we think the reveal is going to be either late Jan. It feels imminent as well, because I think there's been a couple of banners changed on Nintendo account on X, which allegedly were the same as what happened when the original Switch was released, and they're the same banners as well of Mario and Luigi look very happy. It seems to be backwards compatible.
Yeah, saw that.
Yeah.
So I assume it takes cartridges in the same way.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. The actual specs of it, there's still quite a lot of ambiguity, which there's probably bound to be until somebody actually strips down an official one. But it seems to be okay. Would you say that's fair based on what we were all discussing in the group?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I just think it needs to have a full HD screen, a reasonably high refresh rate, and if games can maximize that, job done.
Yeah.
I think anything less than that, I just think it's up against competition. But there we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well,
yeah.
It's all very interesting. So
I love the new Joy-Con designs, if those leaks are to be believed.
Yeah,
I like that it's not too much of a departure from what they did before. I mean, which makes sense because it's wildly successful. So yeah, it'd be nice if they opened up the ecosystem a little bit. Let you do some more things on there, some third-party apps. Maybe play your Xbox games or your PlayStation games, like we've mentioned before.
I mean, that would change my appetite to get one as well. I'm probably going to get one anyway, but my appetite to get one would be like ramped up if I could go and play Game Pass on it, or Amazon Games, or any of the other providers. Any of it.
Is it an issue for you if it doesn't come with an OLED on day one?
Not really. I mean, only because the Portal doesn't have an OLED screen, and that is a marked different. It's improvement. It's massive compared to the Switch.
Is it IPS or LCD?
LCD, I want to say.
IPS might be like a variant of LCD, to be honest. I've asked that, but what's the other one? VA? I think the VA is like the worst one.
No idea. What else?
IPS is an LCD technology.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the screen's bigger than the Switch, so, and it looks like a sizable difference in terms of like the actual improvement to it. So as long as the thing doesn't weigh as much as a Steam Deck, then I think we're gonna be happy with it either way, which is pretty cool. And that screen's gonna look gorgeous. It's Nintendo games after all. It doesn't have to look as sharp as some AAA. Although I know you're a graphics junkie.
I just think it needs to look nice. It's 2025. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It seems to be rumored to be the same cost as what the Switch was at release.
Well,
which
that's right.
I
think that's why they've had so much success, because they have been at that lower price point. It just means that absolutely anybody can buy one, and it's just a no-brainer. It's like it's not that much that you can just tack it on at Christmas and
yeah,
not the end of the world.
Yeah. Interesting. So anyway, it feels imminent. Feels like we're going to know a lot more in the next couple of weeks in terms of what happens, and if there's a direct that's announced. It probably won't be this week because we're recording on the 9th on a Thursday, and it's 4:00 now, so I doubt it's going to be anything this week, but I could see us seeing something in the next fortnight or so to talk about. That'll be fun.
It will be.
Something that has been happening.
If they do an event though, we can live stream that and react to it.
We could do that. That would be fun. Because we just do it now and react to things, but we just don't stream it. So let's just do that. That sounds more fun. You're going to have to walk us through all the CES stuff, because that's the next thing we want to talk about. And it's basically your nerdy corner. So, and you've got a hell of a lot of links on here that I haven't read. So do you want to talk me through the most exciting things that you've seen?
Yeah, I tried to break it down. First of all, I tried to keep it relating to kind of gaming developments. And I've tried to break it down for AMD and Nvidia separately. Judging by stock prices, because I'm getting back into investing, Nvidia have done better. I think that's mainly down to better marketing, to be honest. I think AMD have made a few decisions which are a bit questionable. I do still think they're on a good trajectory, but my investment in them has gone down 5%, which is annoying. So to kind of chunk it up, I've segmented it into FSR4, which is that's the algorithm they use for AI upscaling. So they've made improvements to that. There have been some initial videos that have come out of CES that I was watching on my lunch today, and whereas there can be like artifacting in 3.1, and actually it's not been that well reviewed. In 4, it looks much better. There's rumors that it's related to their partnership with PlayStation. So it may be that it's closer to PSSR.
Yeah.
But considering both of them, and obviously we'll get to Nvidia, because both of those companies are heavily betting on AI being the next step in the graphics output, then it's
Is it betting at this point, or is it dead cert? Because it feels like a dead cert based on everything that's been shown.
The thing is, it's they effectively provide what the industry will buy, don't they? So they're dictating it, as opposed to, so they make it a dead cert. If they push out cards which are heavily AI focused, then it's a bit of a fait accompli, isn't it? So the FSR4, that was big news. It looks really good. It's only available on the new generation of cards, so the 7090 and the 7090 XT. They're the ones they pushed forward. We don't know yet if they're using GDDR6, X, or 7. The performance of them, I think they're aiming for like upper, maybe like mid-high kind of tier, so not directly competing with the 5090, but certainly competitive with the upper end of Nvidia's lineup. And also on top of that, they've brought out a new range of CPUs. So I think they're at the moment dominating in terms of the consumer CPU market, and they've pushed on even further. So one thing that has been consistent is the naming convention has absolutely been bastardized. I wonder will I have to mute that later. It's been
fine.
Yeah, I think that's a legitimate use of the word. You know, and also for the YouTube advertising adjudicators, I could be talking about myself. So how dare you? Anyway, I'll carry on now. Sorry. So yeah, they brought
and
out
me.
Like a new. Oh right, there we go. Yeah, there we go.
F you.
Yeah, who are you to cast aspersions on our family life?
Yeah.
So they brought out like a weird naming convention. They've kind of removed some of the numbers around it, and they've got like AI Max and Pro in their titles for it. It's all very confusing, and I think that's possibly why the stock price has gone down, because from a marketing perspective, what they've done is made it a little bit more difficult for their customers. They do change their naming convention quite a lot. On the graphic card side, they've tried to match what Nvidia are doing, which makes a little bit of sense, because at least now as a customer, if I'm going to buy AMD rather than Nvidia, I can at least follow that common naming convention and understand if it's a higher number, it's better. Like towards the end, so it's yeah. I think from a graphics card perspective, it's a good process. It's a good step up, but it's been overshadowed by Nvidia, which we can go onto in a bit. From a CPU side, it's just more really high quality deliverables from AMD, and I think they'll continue to dominate unless Intel
step the game up.
Yeah, which they need to, really. They need to.
So I think the kind of where you were leaning towards getting an AMD GPU, do you feel that's now, when we talk about the Nvidia stuff in a second, but do you feel like you're now moving away from that, and hopefully we can get a Nvidia card, then you prefer it?
So I'm not sure. And I think ask me that after we've gone through the Nvidia. So I never know if to say Nvidia or Nvidia. I've always used to say Nvidia, but then Americans say Nvidia.
Nvidia.
So I'm going to say Nvidia, just because I'm contrarian. Yeah, I think it's best to ask me that afterwards, because I think my opinion will probably be a little bit clearer, and the reasons for it after.
Okay. So your first point. So I had to Google the CEO's name of Nvidia, because he turns up in a very kind of Steve Jobsy way with his leather jacket on and his he's very
Sergio
personable.
Giorgini.
Yeah. But yeah, Jensen Huang turned up, and the first thing you've got on here is DLSS 4.0. Tell me why that's important.
It's the next iteration of the kind of AI upscaling, same as FSR4. their new generation of cards using this, they've gone from like the frame generation being like an individual frame to being multi-generation of frames.
Yeah.
And that means that whereas in the previous generation, maybe you went from 30 FPS to 70 to 90, you're going from that range has now gone up to like 250 frames per second. So it's a marked improvement. Like the performance of that, obviously, we've not seen yet because they pick and choose what they want to show you in these big events, and probably why their stock price has done well.
So the thing I see online a lot, and bearing in mind I'm in an echo chamber on X, I'm getting this fed to me, so it's probably inaccurate, but it's like fake frames, whatever that phrase means, comes up a lot. I don't know if that's something that's a concern.
Did you watch the tail end of the PSSR deep dive?
Yes.
So Cerny went into that a little bit and kind of explained the process for it. So like, their objective is to put out a 4K frame. They may then downscale it to 720p because they can produce more frames at that level, and then they use AI to upscale it to and sharpen. So it's all very complex stuff, but I think in effect what you're trying to do is get more from less.
Yeah.
And this is why the big claim from Nvidia was that the 5070 has got the same performance as the 4090. Now, I think that's picking and choosing. So, yeah, okay, that'll be with DLSS 4. So they've got multi-frame
but it's still better.
Generation output.
Has that ever happened before, where the lowest variation of the newest gen is better than the highest?
I think it depends
variation.
on your metrics, though, because raw performance, it doesn't match, and the 4090 is vastly superior in terms of the actual componentry on that card. What they're trying to do is say you will get, possibly for your common user would just look at it and just go, I'm getting the same performance, but actually because it's AI driven.
But why is that if it's still performance and it's the end user is seeing an improvement?
Because not every workload will use that. So DLSS 4 won't run on every single game. So if you don't have DLSS 4, you're not going to get the same.
How are you going to know what does and doesn't?
I don't know. I mean, some in the settings for games, like if you go on like what's the example they used? They used Cyberpunk. So because they've got a partnership with CG Projekt Red, there isn't a PS5 Pro enhanced version of Cyberpunk, but there is a DLSS 4.0 version, and the performance is clearly there. But they work closely together with Nvidia. So,
and it's Blackwell. What is that? The name of the chip that sits? Okay, yeah. So that's the architecture that sits on the card.
Yeah,
that supports DLSS 4. Okay.
Yeah, I think they used it on their previous prosumer or professional tier of cards like the Titan.
It's
I could be wrong.
Pretty much all the big hitters that I can see on here. There's probably going to be a heap of games that aren't on it, but you've got all these that support DLSS 4 from the start. So you've got Alan Wake 2. I'm going to just pick up some from this list, by the way. There's loads. But Diablo 4, Dragon Age Veilguard, Dynasty Warriors Origins, Frostpunk 2, God of War Ragnarok, Hogwarts Legacy. You've got Indiana Jones, Lords of the Fallen, Flight Simulator, and 24 Flight Simulator, Need for Speed Unbound, Payday 3, Senua Saga Hellblade 2, Silent Hill 2, Stalker 2, Outlaws, Star Wars, Still Wakes the Deep is on there. Yeah, I mean, you haven't got things like Baldur's Gate on that list, but I'm assuming games like that will start to develop it in there.
Yeah, I think so. So.
So, yeah, I get your point, but if developers support it and publishers support it, and they put money into getting the games looking the best that they possibly can, which feels like most. Well, it's a quick book, isn't it? In essence, because if they can make it compatible and make those games look a little bit better, utilizing that additional firepower, they can sell that game again, and they can advertise it, and they can push it back out with a release of a 5070. So, even like CD Projekt Red, every single advantage that they ever can get for The Witcher 3, they've always taken, precedent on. So, yeah, I get your point, but what other negatives are there when you're comparing it to a 4090 on that 5070 because the cost is insane as well, isn't it? Which is something we haven't touched
Well,
on.
I mean, there will be workloads where it's not as good. So again, it depends on the metrics. We don't know enough about it yet. They're not allowing people, for example, to AMD are
Strip
doing
it
the
down
same,
and stuff.
but nobody. I think only. I don't know if any reviewers yet. I've watched some reviewers on YouTube, but I don't know if any reviewers yet have had like a proper strip down of it, a proper tear down. There are definitely going to be workloads where it's not optimized. So at the moment, they've got CUDA cores, which is for like pure rasterization. You've got ray tracing cores, and then now they've got like the AI cores, and the name is it just AI? Maybe just AI cores. So what this generation has done is they've heavily invested in expanding the cores which are targeting AI operations, which they measure in TOPS, which is trillions of operations. So in terms of like an upgrade in CUDA cores and ray tracing cores, this generation, whilst they may be better versions of those cores, and they undoubtedly will be, they'll be more efficient. They're actually, it's not a massive step up. So effectively, it feels like for this generation, you're paying the premium for the AI cores and for the DLSS4 access. Which for some people, that's absolutely fine, and they'll be happy with that. For some people, the fact that a 5070 will use like frame generation to output the same levels of 4090 for that price, was it $550? Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
essence.
But I just think in like real world scenarios, that may not be the case. Like that could be like synthetic benchmarked, or because to be fair, they actually, if you go on their website, they've actually put out graphs where it shows the performance comparatively to previous generations. But if you look at the specs on paper, I just think that they should all be taken with a pinch of salt.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, I get it, but a powerhouse like Nvidia aren't going to put something out that's not going to be at least matching the ambition shown within that demonstration that they did the other day. And for it's $550 card for that 5070 compared to a $2,000 card, which is the 4090 that's out at the moment, like the flagship, that is ridiculous, in terms of, even if it matches 80% of the performance, which is kind of the gist of what you're telling me, for a quarter of the cost.
I think it'll be, they couldn't say that it is, the same performance as the other product if it wasn't true. I just think that claim will be very it will be with very specific context. So it'll be like what's the phrase? Like they've almost like they've selected, they've handpicked a certain use case which will be favorable, but in reality, for 90% of use cases, it will be an inferior card because it has.
So what we're saying is, Digital Foundry needs to get a grip on it, and then we need to watch their videos and then understand exactly what's going on. Great.
Yeah, they need to zoom in and see, that frame generation isn't quite as good, or maybe it is.
That's the thing; it's just unknown, isn't it, at the moment? And the way that AI has been mooted and used in different ways, especially on graphical technology, it feels it's a little bit ambiguous at this point. But it's going to clear up in the next couple of weeks, I guess. But it's on sale soon.
Yeah, so rightly. I think the higher end come out at the end of this month, and the lower end come out in early Feb.
I think that's right. Quick, isn't it?
It
so
is
you're
quick.
going to guess it's going to presumably be some cards in the wild now that people are reviewing and looking at. So I'd be excited to see when.
Yeah, manufacturers have already started putting them into the laptops, for example. So if you watch Linux Tech Tips video, they went into like the different requirements of manufacturers in terms of motherboard designs and how they pair that with different levels of the mobile cards. Another thing that they showed, which I thought was really interesting, which I made a note of. So the higher end cards, they use vapor cooling.
Yeah, so you know on that.
Yeah, so at one point he held up one of the cards. I can't remember which model it was. And he said, effectively, look at the cooling solution in this. So you can see the fans, but there was light coming all the way through the card. So whereas in a standard graphics card, you've got like the PCB, the printed circuit board, in the middle, and then you've got the coolers going directly towards, they'll go to the heatsink, which is then getting piped over to maybe the RAM modules, but then you've got your actual chip itself that'll be cooling down. Instead, now what they've got like these vapor chambers going across the card. They've got fans pushing air into those. There's no PCB there. The PCB is in the middle, so the fans are pushing directly through the card, so air can go all the way through now. And in the middle, they've like shrunk the PCB so it's tiny. It's like it's like that big, and you got fans next to it. Yeah. So as like a cooling solution, like it's not getting stopped in the middle now. So it's just you cool those chambers and it goes into the middle into the card. It's really interesting. That part was probably the most impressive part of the demonstration that I saw. I just think because that's like a massive change.
It's back on your comment before about AMD. Then so when you're comparing the two, it does feel like it's almost like an Apple situation now with Nvidia, where they're moving away too fast, and everyone said that AMD have to bounce back with the next iteration. It's almost like a nailed on kind of, but now it feels as if that ship may have sailed, and if Nvidia continue to get a storm on this, it may be the case that AMD are only really known for CPUs. Is that correct?
I think it depends on pricing. So I think this generation of
did AMD say
cards,
what the price was?
I actually don't know. I don't know. I think it depends on pricing, because I think this generation of AMD cards, like the 7900 XTX, that is a very kind of cost-effective card when it comes to rasterization. It's not as good on the ray tracing front, but if you don't care about ray tracing, and a lot of people don't, then like AMD was a genuinely reasonable option this generation. The next one, it's still an upgrade, and it just depends on pricing. If they've got a better price point than like the mid tier of Nvidia cards, then fair enough. I think they are still legitimate. From the CPU perspective, if you go back, 5 years, they were massively behind Intel. So it's taken them a long time to get to this position. Clear their strategy when it came to CPUs development did work. So I just think that at the moment, I mean, it maybe they got lucky that Intel shot the bed, and their 12th and 13th generation of CPUs were riddled with issues. Maybe that's just good fortune on their part, but they were still pumping out good products before then. So I think just time will tell. We need to see like some real world scenarios. Like you're right, Digital Foundry get their hands on both offerings and come back with some actual concrete results, rather than two fellas sat in the house talking about them.
Just let two other fellas do it that are more knowledgeable. That's the goal, innit? Loads of rumours on here saying the Radeon RX 9070 XT is rumoured at $479.
Okay, well, I mean that's really good.
And
that's
the embargo is set to lift on January 22nd. So at that point, that's when people will know.
I mean, that means it's cheaper than the 5070.
Yeah. And people are saying that at $499, it's going to probably sell like normal, but at £399, and that'll disrupt the market, which is roughly the cost change. So that will be very, very interesting.
The thing is, what they'll do is they'll do a side-by-side comparison of a list of games. How many frames a second are you getting out of it? Cool. And then I think that's exactly what will happen. But like, if you, for example, have, let's say at home you want to work on like AI projects, then you buy a Nvidia card instead. So I just think time will tell. The comparisons will be put out there. People will do a price to performance calculation and just decide accordingly. Because if they are cheaper, people will buy the AMD product.
So I think then on that, and the question I asked you before as to whether or not you'd changed your mind as to getting an AMD or an Nvidia, probably the answer would be you don't know yet.
Correct.
Okay. See, I know you very well.
Just common sense, really, isn't it?
Okay, thanks. Anything else on Nvidia or CAS? Or I like what was their PC that they've got with a load of AI in it? That's basically like a supercomputer that
like
can
a little
sit
Mac
in your
Mini.
house. Like, and for a fraction of the cost of the Mac Mini.
I think it's $3,000.
Yeah, but like compared to a Mac Pro or whatever it is, I'm presuming it's got more output than that. At least that's how I read it. But
it looks like so I think if I remember correctly, that's the chip that they work with MediaTek on because they've got a history of building out SoCs, and I mean it's interesting. Basically, it's just like an Intel NUC, isn't it? But on steroids. Well, it looks cool. It was gold as well, wasn't
Spooky. It was gold. He
it? I
held it
love
up.
gold.
I did like the different kind of like dioramas he brought of like giant chips and stuff. And he was like holding them up and like explaining it, and it was like, oh, this is pretty cool. You never really get that from like the Apple presentations. It's always just like a fancy video with a load of graphics, whereas this was like show and tell.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
It was good.
But just a shame that this, the old stock price. But there we go.
It is, but then stocks in it.
In it.
Buy Nvidia. Seems to be they're only going to get better. But then it's like the Apple thing again. If it keeps on going, like there's probably another couple of years of headroom for it. So
to quote Muse, in an isolated system, entropy can only increase.
okay. You've put in some sales stats that we don't know if are true or not.
They
allegedly.
are true. I've checked.
You think they are? Okay. So sales stats of, I should say, consoles. So we're looking at monthly hardware just for November 24. That was right, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So PS4s are still selling, which is still interesting. But I guess like price points for them are pretty cool, and majority of the games that have been released on the current generation can play on that anyway. So why wouldn't you? PS5 is absolutely storming ahead of everything because it's just dominating. Xbox is lagging behind Switch, which is insane. I'd love to see how overall sales are, including platform
ones.
Well, no platform costs as well. So like if you've got Xbox Series X and S with Game Pass, what's the overall
I see
sales, in terms of like, I don't know, dollars, and then similar for Switch in terms of what they do.
Do you not think it's mad?
PlayStation.
For the benefit of those who have no idea what the figures actually are, so Switch has sold 1.7 million in November. Who still doesn't have a Switch at this point in its life cycle that wants a Switch?
It's the thing again about who's buying Mario Kart every Christmas, because it always seems to, but it comes bundled, doesn't it, with the game? So therefore it's going to be high, and then you get certain. But like, it's generational. Like I think if you go into go into a game, or you go online and look at Amazon and look at the deals that have been on during Black Friday, because obviously that's pertinent to November.
Good point.
Like it's a no-brainer for a parent that's had a Nintendo console when they were younger to go and buy a Nintendo console for their kids. And it's that ingress point into gaming, so people are going to go and buy the console they know is safe, that they know has got Mario on it, it's got Mario Kart that they can play with the kids. And like, it's just an easier console to buy. And I'm at that point with Jesse where it was the first console he played of mine because it was easier for him to play physically with his hands, small hands. And then, he's kind of graduated to the PlayStation 5, mainly because he just wants to play Astrobot.
Yeah.
So it's like, I get it. I get why people are buying it. I think Xbox at the moment, I associate that brand still with the cool teenagers, the ones that are a little bit like, want to play their Xbox. And I just don't think they've updated their branding very well over the last, like, I don't know, 5-6 years to kind of show people that we are similar to PlayStation. We're agnostic. We're not going to just ram a certain type of game like Gears of War down your throat, but rather you can play FIFA on this console. Whereas I was always really critical of Sony, saying it's almost like the Tesco branding of like, it's very benign, boring, kind of, it's very Sony. But the plus of that is it's agnostic to the people that want to play it. And it's very clearly a console that supports EAFC. It supports going to play NBA games on there. It supports if you want to play Last of Us, and you're a bit more into your games, or it supports the classic games of old, that might be a third party as well. So it's, I don't know. I think it's all a question now of, you've got the two superior brands, which are Sony and Nintendo, and they are just dominating for that reason. So, yeah. Based on the games that you've seen come out, are you even tempted to pick up an Xbox again in the future? Like, based on, I know I'm more...
Not this generation, no. There's no point.
No, not at all. Game Pass, yeah, definitely. And
I still pay for Game Pass, and I don't use it.
Yeah,
It's a PC, but...
Yeah, that's for you to update your PC, and I think when you do that, you probably get more use out of it.
And the screen.
With the screen that you bought, yeah, exactly. So that makes more sense, but it's a bonus by that, isn't it? Let's wait till March-ish. But yeah, so to Carl's point, like, so you've got Sony selling 4.2 million worldwide. Nintendo's selling less than half than that, 1.7 million. You've got Xbox selling 767,000 worldwide. And then you've got PlayStation 4 selling, 400,000 worldwide. So it's like, oh no, it's just 4,000 worldwide. So it's like the numbers are stark. If you just look at PlayStation and Xbox and Microsoft, rather, you got 4.1 million to less than a million.
Yeah. The quote as well on the article that was posted by the reputable source was that there were actually a total of 700,000 PS5 Pros. I just think going back to when people were first learning about the PS5 Pro, I think that there was an element there of skepticism that it wasn't going to sell well. And I just think the fact that it's we've already said it's a luxury console.
Yeah,
but that's reasonable. That
it's more than the Xbox.
Just short of it. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so
More
like
than
a quarter
Xbox,
of PS5 sales are just under a quarter of PS5 sales are PS5 Pro. I'm pretty sure they'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
So
100%. I mean, like, again, it's astronomical to think it's selling that well. Yeah, so interestingly as well, I think when we were looking at some of the numbers, the disparity between what's sold in like the States and Canada versus Europe
and Mexico.
And Mexico. Sorry. Like to that point you've got, and even to be fair there, Japan as well. Like, so the Switch still outsells the PlayStation 5 in Japan, even though they're both Japanese manufactured. So there's obviously that affinity still with Nintendo. And then you've got within Europe, like, you've more of a closer gap. But the PlayStation's more favoured in Europe than the Switch. Whereas it's very, very, very close in the States, South America, and Canada compared to Europe on the sales there. So yeah, very interesting.
I like that the Central American sales for PS5 has leaked 1.337 million.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, leaked. Remember that? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good word. Okay. What you been playing, mate?
Not a lot, to be honest. I've been playing a lot of handheld stuff. So I've been playing. I was playing Fire Red on the Ambernic,
Okay.
and I've been playing a bit of the old Mario Golf from back in the day, the black and white version, not the color version on Game Boy Advance. I also bought a Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah, I saw that. It's cool. Looked in good nick as well.
It's remarkably clean, and the games that I got are all boxed with manuals, so it's pretty nice. I've got Sonic the Hedgehog, the OG, Worms, and Mortal Kombat.
You can get a tablet for that. Worms.
Okay. Don't give chocolates to dogs because then they get worms.
Okay. I'm Carl. I like to spin a joke and make it more autistic. Yeah. Okay. So, in terms of have you plugged in a Mega Drive yet?
Well, no, because the AV cable is remember the old
Yeah, the
RF
colour
ones.
yellow, red, and
No.
Worse than that.
Yeah,
oh yeah, okay.
Like the ones that go in your aerial and you've got to scan your TV. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
that. So I've bought I bought a HDMI adapter and upscaler. So I'll have to wait to plug it in. I haven't got space really though.
Did you get a CRT?
I could do that, couldn't I? But then I've got nowhere to put it. So
That's a problem.
I'll just
Get a bigger house. It's fine.
All right.
Do that.
Tory. Okay.
Okay, that'll get blanked. So I've been watching a lot and playing a few games. So talk about the games first. So Astrobot I've talked about last couple of weeks. Still plugging away at that. Still absolutely loving the game and still in awe of the fact that when I get to a different level and it changes kind of like the mechanics of how you play the game based on maybe like a vintage PlayStation game. Just a lot of fun. So I won't talk too much about that, but yeah, please play it, and you need to play it, Carl. Also played maybe like 3 hours of Indiana Jones. And that's a lot of fun as well. So it starts with I think it's the Raiders of the Lost Ark intro where you've got to escape from the giant boulder,
Right.
and it's that kind of like lead up, and then you go into the future, and it's its own story at that point, and you're in your museum with your old sidekick, and somebody breaks in, and then you have a bit of a fist fight with them, and like I like machine games are great. When they did the Wolfenstein game, I think New Order was it? I think so.
Okay.
And that kind of like first person, like I'm still kind of getting to grips a little bit with the game. There's a couple of stealth sections that I think you saw that I kind of got stuck on. Just because there wasn't enough to do in the environment to get around a certain player, and I kind of a certain enemy and ended up in a fist fight anyway with them, and it was a bit like I kind of wanted to get around them. But it reminds me of do you remember the old game Thief?
Yep.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the stealth in that, where you're kind of looking for the verticality of the level to kind of go, well, how do I get past this person if there is not an opportunity? Oh, sorry, there's only, it feels like an opportunity to get into a fight. So I'm hoping that the future levels aren't like that, and this is more just a learning kind of phase of trying to show me how to do the punching and stuff. So we'll see. But apart from that, using the whip's really fun. There's like there's an early part of like puzzle solving in it, which I'm finding really interesting. It's not to the length and the depth of Uncharted, which is insane considering Uncharted came out. Well, Uncharted 4, the last version, came out maybe like 6-7 years ago. I think even longer than that. Maybe I'll let you check that. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm playing it on a PC, and it's running really well, even on I think medium settings, because my old card is chugging away. Trying to play it, but yeah, it seems really fun. So I'm going to keep on plugging away at that.
I don't mean to segue us, but we can do something we've never done before.
Okay.
We can live react.
Okay.
Fabrizio Romano has just made the announcement. Sean Dyche has been sacked.
Oh, has he really? Ooh, Mourinho's in then. It's definitely happening.
How good is that?
Get your bet on.
Oh, that's annoying because we've got to play them as our game in hand.
That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, so they're going to have the comeback ability of a Mourinho team. Let's have a little look and see whether or not Mourinho's odds have shortened. What have I got? Sky Bet. That's what I've got. Okay. So I'm loading up Sky Bet for everybody that is listening to the podcast. I am logging in with my username, which I shall not tell.
Whipping boy. Just message Connor, obviously.
Well, why wouldn't you? All right. There we go. I'm in. So, next manager for Everton. How do you just search on here now? Doesn't make it easy for you, does it? Featured football. Featured. There we go. Search. I'm searching for next Everton. Oh, that didn't bring anything up. Everton. No, that's not bringing anything up. Next, Everton manager. Odds. Oh, it's the Sun. Not going on that.
Yeah, there we go. Sky Sports News have confirmed it. Breaking: Sean Dyche has left Everton.
Yeah. So next permanent Everton manager outright, 8-1. Mourinho. Odds on favourite. David Moyes 4-1. Graham Potter was 6-1. So he's now gone to West Ham today, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And then after that, you've got like Thomas Frank at 12-1, Steve Cooper 16-1, Allegri 20-1, Ten Hag 25-1, Steven Schumacher 33-1. Thought he was still in a coma.
Not funny.
Steven Gerrard 33-1.
Oh, could you imagine?
That'd be amazing. Steve Clark 33-1. Leighton Baines 33-1.
Big Dunk.
Lee Carsley's 33-1. Big Dunk's not on that list. He is not on that list. So it's Mourinho, mate. I reckon he's going to go to Everton.
Tommy Gravison. Steven Pienaar. Phil Jagielka.
Jose Mourinho categorically ruled out a Premier League job hours after odds plummeted. TalkSport understands. So apparently that was an hour ago that happened.
Wonder if he's changed his mind.
Okay. So his former employers, the Freakins, because he was ex-Roma boss, wasn't he? Mm. So he can't. I doubt he'll want to go and work for the guys that have literally just sacked him, allegedly. But you never know. That's interesting. Some other things that I've been watching. So I've watched the entire first season of The Penguin. Have you seen the Batman, the Robert Pattinson one?
Nah.
Nah. It's not. It's pretty rubbish. But The Penguin's fantastic. So it's like a grimier version of The Sopranos, and like it's not fantastical like Batman is. It's not like you haven't got Batman appearing at all through the season. Spoilers. But you have got like some elements of that kind of DC world like seeping into it. A lot of it around Arkham Asylum and some of the goings on there. But it's really good. There's like 2 or 3 episodes in it that are absolutely fantastic. Colin Farrell as the Penguin's awesome. And if you give me 2 seconds, because I'm terrible at remembering actors' names, Kristen Milotti, who plays Sophia Falcone, and then you've got the guy that plays Victor in it, it's called Renzi Feelers. Absolutely awesome. Then there's like a load of other people in there, Clancy Brown, Mark Strong, who are awesome as well. So it's like kind of setting up a lot of the more grounded elements of Gotham City and a lot of the kind of like crime goings on. And there's not like a Poison Ivy, flying in it at some point and doing something, and there's no Riddler in this. So, but yeah, it's really good. But like I said, Colin Farrell's absolutely fantastic, and the backstory behind his character isn't the like Tim Burton version where he like just got thrown into a canal as a baby and went down into the sewers, and a load of penguins basically adopted him, and he became the Penguin. This is the guy had like a problem with his leg, like a defect when he was born, and had to kind of live with it. And it's all about his relationship with his mother and like how that's kind of mutated over the years. Again, very Sopranos-y, like the mum's impact on his life and the things that kind of happen. So definitely recommend that. That's at 8.6. Been watching Silo season 2 on Apple TV. That's really slow. I think both Soph and I are kind of like bored of it at this point, but we're kind of watching it just to hope that the season gets a little bit better. It's nowhere near as good as season 1, although whenever I've seen like reviews of it online, it's all been quite complimentary of it, so I don't know if I'm missing something. But yeah, Rebecca Ferguson just seems to be getting into like random injuries every single episode, and
sounds like me, that playing football and tennis
basically is like, and then just moaning about it, and that seems to be the conceit of this season. I don't know. Went to see Nosferatu at the weekend, which aside from seeing a vampire's penis, is absolutely fantastic, really spooky, and it's meant to be a very good homage to like the 3 other films of this film that have been made in the past. So if you like horror films or just films that have kind of got like a general sense of dread, what
films that have penis.
Films with have a vampire's penis in. But yeah, I mean, just Lily Rose Depp, and that's fantastic. You've got Nicholas Hoult as well, who's awesome. And I don't know, I can never remember which guy's god it is, but the guy that plays Nosferatu, and the accent that he puts on is just absolutely brilliant. I'd actually think you would enjoy it because it's not too scary. It's almost like the whole point of Nosferatu, the vampire, is that he creates a sense of dread over the people that he consumes and that he has like control over. And you feel like that when you're watching it. You feel like there's just constant dread, and the pacing of it's amazing. So as you're going like scene to scene, you're just feeling like more and more depressed about the goings on, and this creature like gradually taking over the countries that he's infesting. So yeah, definitely worth it. Really good. Steam OS for all you've written. What's this?
So that is, we spoke about the new Lenovo tablet that they're bringing out, which is going to have Steam OS on. But I think now as well, there seems to be like a theme that Steam OS, they had it in beta. I think they're due to release that they're going to put Steam OS on absolutely any handheld that people want to put it on. And that's interesting. It's obviously it's free. Microsoft aren't going to be happy, and there have been some reports that Microsoft are looking to improve the handheld performance of their operating system. Massive for Linux gaming, which is very dear to my heart. And I think we've said it before, but it's just exciting because when you consider that games like EAFC aren't available on Linux-based devices because of the anti-cheat being Windows only, the more that the percentage of Linux-based gamers goes up, the more pressure on those companies to to accommodate, and it's just exciting. It's just exciting. It's cool. It's cool from Valve's perspective. Obviously, it makes a lot of sense for them financially because the more people who have got the Valve store in their hands, the more profit they're going to make. But I very very selfishly just want more people to use Linux.
Yeah, I mean, I like Steam as well. I like the fact that it's almost bulleted the Xbox handheld before it's even been officially announced. I know they're saying they're working on it, but what's the point?
Exactly.
If you can go out and get a Steam OS handheld and it's a fraction of the cost and you can get it to play Game Pass on it, like what's the point? And you can get games cheaper through Steam. What's the point? So,
exactly.
Yeah, very positive.
It's a good move for consumers, I feel.
It is timely as well with the Switch 2 stuff and a lot of the, I'm going to say it, zeitgeist around handheld gaming. We've spoken about it a lot since we started doing this podcast, but it does feel like it's constant now. There's constant news about handhelds, improvements, things that the big players are wanting to do. Like, I still think we're only a couple of years away from having Steam OS on a Switch 3 or whatever it might be, or a 2.5, and then vice versa, having a Nintendo store on Steam, or a Steam Deck rather. So it's good.
Yeah, I think the flexibility is better for customers. Might not be better for them. Maybe I feel slightly differently. I think Nintendo, I don't think they would do that. I think the moment that they open the doors, because they're hardware wise often lagging behind, I think that would be the death knell for them.
The only thing that's worrying me a little bit is we're getting the same thing happening with games as what we've had with TV and movies. So you've got Netflix, you've got Amazon Prime, you've got Now TV, you've got Disney, you've got Apple TV. All of these huge players that have got very deep pockets don't need to get rid of their streaming services because they're making good content and there's enough people subscribing to them. But it's not great for the consumer because if you're genuinely interested in content and video and film and telly, you have to subscribe to all of them, or torrent, not endorsing that, but you've got one or the other kind of choice, or just not watch things.
Torrenting is completely legal.
It is, if it's something that you have. Correct?
Well, no, not necessarily. You don't have to. So, if you look at torrenting, really, it's just a form of peer-to-peer networking, just with multiple peers at the same time, isn't it? So it could be absolutely anything. Early days of Linux distributions. I say early days. I mean, for me, when I was younger, you would download those ISO images from torrent sites. You're getting free.
Yeah.
So you're getting free open source, files. That's not illegal. It's
not illegal, great.
It's the content. So and we never support that because we're pro copyright.
We are pro copyright. And that's how we keep our friendship healthy. But yeah, over a beer you can educate me on that because I always thought it was. But obviously having like Steam OS, you've got, Netflix make their own games, although I can't see that persisting for much longer. It doesn't seem to be.
No. Even like the live stuff on Netflix,
studios.
every now and then I see a notification like WWE Raw, like Thursday at this time. I'm like, isn't the whole point of Netflix you can just consume it when you want to? Why would you then put time into? I know you can watch it after the fact, but it just feels weird.
But like, it's the thing at the moment. It's similar to like, not to bring it to work, but like your price comparison websites. The thing that they fight for is market share. Like they want you to go and use their website. So what these guys now, what Netflix need to do, they can't just increase the number of, or make their current content more appealing because they kind of topped out on that already. They've got people that enjoy that content and will subscribe. What they need to now do is diversify and bring different types of content on there. So they've gone into games, they've gone into live stuff. What you've got now with games is we've got Nintendo have got their store. You've got Steam OS and obviously Valve that sit behind it. You've got Epic. You've got PlayStation Store. You've got Game Pass. You've got several different, and then each of them have got their own IP that sit on it as well. And that's not even getting into like the VR realm of things and like the gatekeeping that happens with that. It's like everything's got its own store. And even like the GeForce Now, the Nvidia have got massively deep pockets. But I would see GeForce Now as like an add-on similar to what you get with EA Play, is it? When you...
Well, that's what they're looking at. They've talked about the fact that they're bringing Steam to GeForce Now, so your Steam library can be streamed to your devices.
Yeah, perfect.
It's rendered on their infrastructure.
Yeah, things like that make more commercial sense to me because it benefits the consumer. There's no point in making it more cost prohibitive for people to play games. Like that's not what
No.
any of us enjoy as consumers of those games.
Like
So
if you were Netflix, I feel like Netflix should be like the go-to place to watch TV and movies. I wouldn't if I was like like Netflix vice president of ideas.
yeah,
I would say don't put games into Netflix. Let's create a new brand. We'll pump it. We'll pump ads for it left, right, and center. We'll put ads, within our already successful platform. But then make Netflix the go-to for TV and movies. Make whatever they call it the go-to place for streaming games. I don't understand. I'd do that because it just makes it messy otherwise. Because I see Netflix games and go, why would I go to Netflix for games? I go to Netflix for something else.
but they've got shareholders, and that's the problem. Is that you top out in a share price. There's only one way it'll go. You can't build up more subscribers to what you're doing, and you're not necessarily going to do that just through television because then that's your untapped market is games. So they have to try it. They have to go into it and then see what they can do to see whether or not they can bring more people to that platform. But I agree with you, by the way. Like, I would prefer, but I like the way that Apple do it with Apple TV, where they try and aggregate all of the different subscriptions into one. But there's no cost benefit for me to do that. It's still just me accessing Netflix through the Apple UI, and it's just the way they display it's far better than anyone else can.
Google does something similar, I think, on Google TV.
Okay.
You sign in with like different accounts and it shows them up. You search all through one. No, I think the whole point of like these streaming services was they were 2 fingers up at like in America. You have like the cable networks, and you have to buy absolutely everything you want. And then streaming services came along and went, actually, you could just pay as a fixed fee, which is much less. And we've got these here that you can just come and watch. But now every single person wants a slice of the pie, and in order to watch the things that you want to watch, you just like I'm spending £70 a month on streaming services. Like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
You may as well just have Sky, and
Which is the
get back to that.
Yeah, but that's why Sky is starting to bundle in Netflix now with some of their products because they're like, well, if we can offer that and that, all right, you're not getting Apple TV and all the other things that are involved or Amazon, but still, who hasn't got an Amazon Prime subscription now? It's probably insane, isn't it? And it's almost like a bolt on an advantage that you get the telly with it.
If you don't have Amazon Prime, do you have to pay for deliveries from Amazon? It's been that long since I've not had Amazon Prime.
No, but I don't think you get it next day, although most of the time you still get it next day. Because I cancelled it for 1 month, and there were some things that were like, you're going to get this in a week. And it was like silly things, but everything just goes back to being next day when you resubscribe. So
that's interesting.
It's just the immediacy of it, but then, I mean,
if you need something quick, you go Amazon. If you don't care if it comes in a week's time, AliExpress.
Yeah. But I'd love to know I'd love to know what happens in the next 5 to 10 years as all these guys like top out. Like Amazon tops out and goes, right, everyone, we want to subscribe to Amazon. Where do we go from here to try and increase our revenue? Well, that's it. It goes up and then people stop subscribing. And then what happens then? So you go through this kind of like new pattern that we've probably not seen before in media.
I think it's that aren't they branching out into like logistics? Obviously, they've got their own logistics arm, haven't they? Mm-hmm. They'll get to the point where they just go, we're going to monopolize like all deliveries.
Yeah. We are the only delivery company. Yeah.
Amazon, the singularity.
Maybe. And then similar, but that doesn't happen with television providers, game providers, subscription services. It can't for a while unless there's acquisitions. Because then you get like Apple going, you know what, we love this, we make a lot of money from it, but for us to really go for it, we need to go and buy Netflix.
Yeah.
And that can happen, and then they go and buy Netflix, and that's part of their proposition. Then they go, you know what, we feel like we need to go and buy Sky, so we'll go and buy Sky. And then it becomes like a monopoly game, where the people are bidding over Mayfair. Interesting. Anyway, speaking of money, we've got a couple of deals as well that I want to quickly touch on. Carl, yours was?
I updated mine.
Come on then. What is it?
It's no longer Links Africa. It's I think we've used it a few times as it's come down in price, but it's the refurb Steam Decks direct from Valve. Okay. The 64 gig model is £249, which is a steal. So you buy that model, you upgrade the SSD, and superb.
I've never seen a side by side with the OLED. I need to.
Oh, I think it's night and day.
Is it?
Okay. I think so. OLED's just superior. There's nothing wrong with the the LCD panel, but
it's still better. Yeah. Okay.
that's why I'm worried about the Switch 2 not having it. I just think that's stupid.
Yeah.
Regressive.
Or not having an option to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they day one an option for it, then I'll just get the OLED.
But that's the thing, isn't it? With it, early adopters with Nintendo, they're all Nintendo fans, and those same people will buy an OLED in a year. So why not milk them twice? And that's the Nintendo way.
Bloody
So, yeah.
back to Dairy Queen.
Back to Dairy Queen, yeah.
What's your deal, Dan?
My deal is, so only because I've been seeing more about this game, we didn't mention it last week, I don't think, as part of the games that are coming out this year in 2025, but Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 on PC, so you can get it at the moment on CD keys for $35.99, which is 28% off the retail of $49.99. It's basically an open world game in medieval times.
That sounds like the opposite of a game that you'd ever like.
It totally does, but for some reason it really appeals to me, and I don't know if it feels like a complete palate cleanser, but some of the videos and images I've seen from it look stupendous, and a lot of people I follow, I like critically, are speaking quite highly of it as one of their most anticipated games. So yeah, yes, one to watch.
Do you reckon that's an age thing, that as you're getting older, you're starting to change your taste?
A little bit, yeah, and I think it's also depending on what you're watching and consuming. Because, like I said, I finished The Penguin, and I was like, really fancy to go back to like the Arkham games. And then we were watching Shogun. So I was like, could go back and play.
Didn't it? Did well in the Globes.
Yeah, dominated. Some of the actors, great. So yeah, but then I was like, maybe I'll go and try Ghost Tsushima again. And then I was looking at this, thinking, Kingdom Come looks cool, and that could be a good game as an option in the future. So,
interesting.
But yeah, I find you are right. I find myself being a hell of a lot more influenced as I get older, and my taste changing. So it's either like immediacy, like I want a game that's gonna like punch me in the face with fun, like Astrobot, or I want that kind of nostalgic trip, like Indiana Jones, or maybe I just want something where I can go and escape, like a Red Dead. So
slice some people up. I almost swore then, but didn't. How many times do you reckon we've sworn in this episode?
I reckon 3. I reckon GPT will come back and say 3 times.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon. How many times?
Better than last time. I don't know. I don't remember any swearing, to be honest. But I didn't remember any swearing last time.
I think I swore once. I remember going, I swore.
Drats.
Oh, drats. Oh, crumbs. All right, it was fun. So if you liked what we do and you're still listening, please still listen. You can go over to casualmode.co.uk. We've got loads of links in there. One's the YouTube channel if you're not watching there already, and you can like and subscribe to what we're producing. We're being pretty diligent. I think we've kept up after Christmas. There's not been too many goings on outside of this to stop us from recording, which is pretty good.
I gave up drinking, didn't I? Probably helps.
Yeah, a little bit. You have been sufferable.
Drinking that red wine.
Red wine.
My money don't jiggle. It falls. Should we just end this? Sorry, before I start singing.
Say bye, Carl.
In a bit.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
In a bit, Sean Dyche.
Keep it casual. Ah, poor Daishi.